Well, look, they're doing better now in one way, and that is, I guess you call storytelling, where everything used to just be a digital catalog. You saw the watch picture, there was a reference, some tech specs, the name, but like no context, no explanation. If you didn't know why it was a good watch, this certainly wasn't going to tell you. And now websites copy the infotainment kind of model. You just keep scrolling down, there's some animations, and it's like, check out our bezel, check out our hands, we love blue. You know, you get to the bottom and you're like, where's the buy it now one? Or how much does it cost? Is there a watch? Is the size somewhere? I just need to know the size.
This week, Ariel, David and Rick are back together for the first time in 2024, and so am I. It's another rollicking episode with favourites from 2023, the fate of watch collections when their owners pass on, the effect of shirt sleeves on watch size preference, and a lamentation of terrible brand websites. Plus musings on the Gregorian calendar, storyboarding a horological sequel to Succession, and a new take on Hit Miss Maybe. Enjoy the show.
Greetings and welcome to this week's aBlogtoWatch Weekly. It's been a while since we did this. We've let you all, listen to all those shows about the best of 2023 and what we're all looking forward to, and basically everybody regurgitating exactly the same stuff. We've just let you deal with that because we know that Ariel hates lists. He hates doing all that sort of stuff, so we just left him in peace, not having to choose a best thing of 23. But Ariel, what was your favourite thing of 2023?
It was apparently giving you that vacation.
That was my favourite
I was
thing.
ready to go every day.
You were? Yeah, Ariel was like, can we record? It's Christmas Day. I've finished my dinner. I'd really like to record.
We gave
now,
you
please.
a nice rest, so I enjoyed giving you that well-deserved time off, Rick.
David, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everybody. When is the most appropriate point to stop saying Happy New Year? In Hungary, is New Year a big thing? Have you already stopped saying Happy New Year to folk you meet in the street?
No, you can totally say that. Absolutely. And actually, Christmas in Serbia, which is next door, was just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So Christmas for us is December 24, 25, 26. For them, it's nothing. It's a work day. All right?
Okay.
So it's a but I think we can say that.
Is there some cultural appropriation? Do folk in Hungary still go, well, we'll have a wee sneaky one on the 5th? Or the 6th or the 7th, depending on
it's the Serbs, because they are Orthodox Christians, and they don't approve of the Gregorian calendar, and they were like, screw that, and the adjustment it made for like 14, 15, 16 days, so they are adhering to like an old calendar, and that's why there's this discrepancy.
So all of their perpetual calendar joy that they got to experience with their IWCs just didn't work for it. Out the window, didn't work for them. There are no IWC perpetual calendar owners in Serbia. It's just a thing. It's just a thing. Good stuff. But let's do one highlight. So Ariel's given us a highlight. If you want to come on with another highlight, maybe of one watch. David, the one watch, if you close your eyes just now from 2023 that you think about.
That's a good question. In my nightmares is the puzzle date. With the emoji date display. Yeah, this is the one that first comes to mind. Sadly, it's not a nice watch. It's a bad vision to have.
For me, no specific watch comes to mind, but a price point, and that is like $400,000. Because all the stuff that really impressed me was about $400,000, and that's like fantasy Monopoly money, right? For me, so I just look at it, and it's sort of like life. Just gracefully with like a glove, but just slapping me across the face and be like, at least you can play with it for a few minutes. So that's what 2023 was like a lot. Yeah.
I have to say, I think mine actually is a titanium Yachtmaster. I don't know.
The least practical watch of 2023.
The least
Great.
practical watch of 2023, but it's still the one I close my eyes and I think, yeah, I quite like that. That's the watch that has lived with me.
Is it because you'll remember the day you bought it so well, because that'll be the last day it looked that way?
That's right before it's all. Hello, Scratch Magnet. Welcome to 2024.
February 17th. I remember you.
Yeah, so many.
My watch gleamed. The brushing was so clean. It was all the same direction, too.
We've got the Roman calendar, the 25th. We've got the Gregorian calendar. They're all set. And then we've got the day we first scratched up our titanium.
And every
watch.
day after.
And every day after. Let's start off on a completely depressive note. Ariel's thoughts. What should happen to valuable wristwatch collections when their owners die? Welcome to 2024.
No, this is
Ariel.
good news. This is one more thing for collectors to muse on and talk about ad nauseum. And for them to disagree about, too.
Yes, viciously disagree about, yeah.
There's no disagreement like a vicious disagreement.
This is a serious issue. The reality is that there is a fair number of people out there who have very valuable watch collections, or what we might call important watch collections. And there isn't much of a plan for what happens when they die. We don't know if those watches will go in the hands of people that care about them, if they're going to be shown off, if they're just sort of, maybe somebody doesn't even know what they are. But the watch industry has this great interest of knowing where important watches are, and people who inherit watches should know what to do with them. If you inherited a watch collection and had no idea what to do with it, you could squander its value very easily. So we haven't had enough people who have major watch collections die, which is, that's a nice thought. But at the same time, it's going to probably be an issue more in the future. I don't have all the answers, but I think I ask most of the questions that we should be asking right now, and it's people's roles independently to answer those questions for themselves and their estates.
So do we think, so I've worked for a couple of charities in the past, and there's always like a conversation about legacies, what one of our supporters might pass away and might leave us a lot of money. Do you think that there's a black book amongst all the auction houses where they have a little list of the people and they go, oh, he's a year older now, it's a frosty winter, maybe X, Y, and Z's collection might be coming to us?
Why do you think Sotheby's as a company has been around for as long as it has? It's like crazy old company. Very, very simple formula. Attach yourself to rich people. Eventually, they'll need your services. I mean, it's basically like, a law of nature.
Death, taxes, and auction houses.
Look, we talk about this a lot, and in the article I bring in out, auction houses right now in the current industry probably have the most to gain because, let's face it, if you are left with a bunch of watches, you don't know what to do with it, your first instinct is, let's go to an auction house. You don't know what the best options are, and if you're just a lay person, that sounds reasonable, right? You think the same thing with art. You didn't realize with watches, it's a bit of a different story. But the reality is, okay, let's say you want to just sell the collection. Other than an auction house, what are your options? And that's unclear. Maybe you want to hire like a guy who spends several hours a day on Instagram and ask him or her what to do. They might tell you and put it up on eBay for you one watch at a time. But maybe that's the best thing to do, Hire someone and tell them to sell them off one watch at a time and give the estate a commission or a fee, and then they can take a commission. In any event, even if you leave it to multiple children, how do the kids split it? How do they decide what to keep or sell? What advice do you give? How do you keep a record of why you bought watches, paperwork, and things like that? We don't tend to index or keep very good records, and that can be really annoying. I mean, the story that goes with the watch oftentimes is a big part of the value. If you don't attach that story, write it down, record a video of you talking about it, then that story goes away once you go away. And we speaking of legacy, things to go on. So there's an enormous things to think about in just this topic.
David, do you think there's an HBO showrunner sitting there somewhere ready to write the next Succession sequel on some watch collection being divided up against some obnoxious children?
Yeah, I was just going to say that if it's, you mentioned the word nature, so I'm expecting something with Attenborough in it, just climbing out of the bushes like on his all-four and just explaining the inheritance among humanoids.
Here we have a Patek 5711 being divided up.
A rare beast. Yeah, that's funny. So maybe that.
How depressing do you think it would be to have spent your life putting a collection together, knowing that it's just not, I have like one decent watch. I'm not worried about it being appreciated or otherwise by my antecedents. But if you've got 300 or 400 and you're going, I spent my life's work doing this and it's going to the four winds because nobody else cares.
Well, I have this dream that, once I'm ready to check out of this world, I will take a really fast car and just drive it off a cliff. And just leave it at that. So I don't really care.
Okay, Thelma.
So we think that the ultimate solution is full watch collection in the back of a car
and drive it
Thelma
off a cliff.
and Louise it off a cliff.
Yes, that's a classy way to go. I mean, you can take it with yourself, and this is the only way you can.
Wait, so all your watches are going with you in the car?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
No, I mean, Rick said that. I didn't.
Imagine the archaeologist 1,000 years from now finds your wreck and like, what? I can't understand any of this. How would this car have been driving here? And why does he need so many timekeeping pieces? Was he a salesman of sorts?
We found a skeleton and he's got 25 watches
on his forearm,
Was it armor? Was it protecting him? The radiation of the sun?
Anyway, right, well, let's hope not too many people pass away in 2024. But if they do, let's judge those auction houses. And
be mindful. You don't have to die to plan for it, right? Like, just because you write what's supposed to happen, that might just be reassuring, and it might be one more thing to feel good about. It doesn't mean that, the plan needs to go into execution right away, is my point.
Well, we've already spoken about how long is it appropriate to say Happy New Year to people. What is the appropriate length of time for an auction house to wait to phone the widow or widower of a large watch collection to say, would you be interested in using our services?
You have to understand, if you wait till they're already dead, it's already too late. You start that relationship during the breathing years, as they call them.
The breathing years.
Yes.
Well, I think there's a second, watch collab waiting out there, a kind of countdown timer. You know how you can get those things? I haven't seen one for a few years, but you used to get those things. It would be a Facebook post. You work out what day are you going to die, your death day, and be able to set your perpetual calendar to count down.
Well, this is the
that.
Mr. Jones watch thing. You remember you'll die. We can have a sequel, which was Remember to Write Your Will.
Mm-hmm. And the date window just displays like the watch you're having nightmares about with emojis. Instead of a numeral 1, it says it's the Christie's logo. Instead of numeral 2, it's Antiquorum, and 3 is Phillips. Depending on which day you
also,
die,
also relatives you don't like.
And the watch already has a lot number assigned to it.
That's what we should. There's a thing, a design, somebody to put rather than an edition number on the back of a watch. That Mr. Jones is one for you to put the lot number on the back of it.
That's a good one.
Preempting the sale of the watch. Anyway, there we go. Right, this brings us on to another. Ariel's been having a lot of thoughts over Christmas. He's not had the podcast to get these things out, so we're going to get them all out at once. Ariel's latest thoughts are about...
I wrote this article a long time ago, Mike.
How shirt sleeves can determine your watch size preference. This is clearly an article written by someone that lives in a place where the sun shines occasionally, where there is a choice.
When there are options for shorts. Yeah,
options. Where short sleeves exist as an option. Ariel... did you wear any short sleeves over Christmas? Encourages or depresses that it was still sunny in California on Christmas Day?
That's all I wore.
Is that right?
Yeah, with the jacket over it sometimes, but only when you go outside.
With the jacket draped over your shoulders.
Look, I think this is what this article is meant to do. If you are just getting into watches, what I've noticed is that you spend a lot of time reading people's opinions. And oftentimes, you end up buying a watch which is the wrong size for your wrist because you are hearing the wrong opinion. So what I'm trying to do is get people who are not quite familiar with the hobby to ask themselves a very basic question: do I mostly wear short sleeves or long sleeves? As a way of helping them decide what watch sizes are going to work for them. Because I've talked to a lot of people who have sort of listened to Instagram for the first few watch purchases, and very often they're unhappy. So I'm trying to give little conversations out there that people can have with themselves, so that before they know their tastes and watches better, can make, appropriate decisions. And yes, as a corollary, it's interesting to say that a watch doesn't look as small on your wrist if you have long sleeves on, whereas if it's on a bare wrist and arm, it looks smaller, and people who wear short sleeves tend to wear larger watches. That's just a trend that I've seen for looking at watches for many, many years.
So on that basis, does it mean that global warming, as it tends to heat the planet up and therefore lead to more short sleeve wearing, will inevitably result in an increase of watch sizes?
Not necessarily.
Are Panerai tied into the early global warming issue sooner than everybody else?
No, because I anticipate certain fabrics which are designed to shut off both mosquitoes and UV rays. So we'll have very breathable fabrics that we'll want to wear in the sun because of those two purposes.
Okay, so it's going to be a mixture of presenting ourselves from solar radiation and the
bugs.
inevitable bogification of,
yes.
of the world.
We know this is going to happen.
David, have you ever considered the length of sleeve in advance of buying a watch?
I've considered the thickness of a watch in recognition of the comfort or discomfort it causes when it gets caught on sleeves. So I want to be able to wear...
A related topic, yes.
Yeah. So I was like, I just want the watch to like slide under, sleeves, just not have like my winter jackets and stuff like right up to my ear just because I'm wearing a thick watch. So that's...
A G-Shock and a jacket are a terrible combo.
They are. Just putting it on, taking it off. Yeah, it's the whole thing. Yeah, it's not that good. My 5600, the G Glide or Glide, is actually not that bad. They are not too thick. But something like a Rangeman, forget about it. Maybe you can just put it on the sleeve itself.
Well, you see, that's one of the pictures that Ariel shows in this article. It's just wear it on your sleeve. Have you ever done that?
I have seen it
other
out
than
there.
A jest?
I haven't done it myself. I have to say I have seen people do it.
Were those people wearing open-toed sandals as well?
A lot of it were women,
right, okay.
but not exclusively women. A lot of women I've seen out there just decide to wear it over a sweater or something like. Over the sweater seems popular because it's cold, but you also want to show off your watch. This is, I think, the thinking.
Yeah, I think crime is probably going to be the thing that prevents that as becoming a thing in general.
That's actually a good question out there. We know about these high crime rates for people stealing watches. Is it equal for women as men? I would guess that this is mostly men being targeted.
Well, there we go. So you can let us know in the comments if you've ever considered sleeve appropriate watch purchasing as being a category that you need to concern yourself about. But one thing that would undoubtedly help in this is if watch websites were any good and gave you some sort of virtual sleeve wearing. This is what it looks like under a sleeve. We have often complained about watch websites, and Mike has written an article specifically about just how awful watch websites are. Gentlemen, do you have a watch website of preference? Is there any watch websites you enjoy going to?
It's rare. And then they change it. You like it, and then they do a redesign. You're like, what the hell were they thinking?
Yeah, exactly. It's so weird.
Like, did they just did they erase the last one? Did the agency burn down? They had to find a new one and be like, quick, we need a new website.
And we have to enter it from scratch, obviously. I mean, it's not okay that we...
Forget the last one. We don't know about it.
It never happened. Act like it never happened. Damn it.
It's the ones that just don't allow you to get... I just want... Like, how... can you not just have a button that says show all the watches?
Yes.
I just want to see all the watches.
What about a search bar?
I don't want a little... Search bars are the worst.
And they don't work.
They don't work. You can't if you misspell something, and who can fundamentally, who can spell Hoyer? Like, really? Who really knows how to spell Hoyer?
Nobody can.
First thing in the morning, you're not spelling Hoyer.
Okay, what about this?
Breitling.
Is it related to this conversation just trying to get brands to list their watches on their website in the first place? Because they can't seem to do that enough of the time. Or watches that are there disappear. They just disappear like no one ever wants to know about this again.
Yes.
It's the blooming little videos they insist on playing you before you can get anywhere. It's like, I don't need to... I've come to your website. Now that I'm here, make it enjoyable. I didn't need the educational experience. I just needed you to tell me whether you were going to sell me the watch or where I could buy it. And actually, that's even worse.
Don't even get
is
started
looking
on that.
up, like, where can I buy this thing?
Or how much it costs.
Yeah.
Well, look, they're doing better now in one way, and that is, I guess you call storytelling, where everything used to just be a digital catalog, right? So, like, you saw the watch picture, there was a reference, some tech specs, the name, but, like, no context, no explanation. If you didn't know why it was a good watch, this certainly wasn't going to tell you. And now,
That's true.
more and more of these websites copy the sort of infotainment kind of model. You just keep scrolling down. There's some animations, and it's like, check out our bezel, check out our hands. We love blue, and they just have all these reasons, and it's like a Kickstarter thing, and you get to the bottom, and you're like, where's the buy it now one? Well, how much does it cost? Is there a watch? Is the size somewhere? I just need to know the size. So they kind of screw up sometimes because it's hard to find the necessary stuff, but at least they're trying to do that visual merchandising, which explains to you in some way why they want you to think this watch is cool.
But it's also the filters, like
searching,
filter by size, and it rather than doing like between 32 and 34, you have to click the 37.9 millimeter size, the 38.2 millimeters. This one, no, just give me a range. Just give me. I want to see all the ones between 40 and 42.
Maybe it should be like a range you can adjust, because sometimes you want something that exists like in 39 and 42, and then the range they say is from 39 to 42. So you can't find the ones you can't like narrow your search down to what you want, because it will give you all of them.
In Casio, their watches sometimes are in multiple collections. So there's like so many ways of getting there. Or sometimes you just don't know how, and you're like, I don't know which one of these roads to lead. I know that between door A, B, and C, one of them leads to the product. I just don't know which one.
Which one is the K-pop girl band, and which one is the watch?
It's digital, but it's also square, but it's colorful. I don't know.
It's impossible. I actively don't go to the Casio website.
Is it a Master of G? I don't know if it's a Master of G. Would it say that on the dial?
How am I supposed to...
Are you on the Casio website just now, David?
Yes.
Right. Find me, let's think of a search term, metal, and tell me how many search results it gives you.
Okay.
It's going to be a lot. 4.
I search for metal. G-Shock Full Metal Series Casio news article. Not one single product. It's just news, but I have 672 different news
articles. Yeah, so there you go. That's just how useful.
And no idea what the dates are. It says release 2023, 2022, 2021, home news 2022. This is all I see, literally, as I'm saying that.
Oh, don't get me started. Like, how long does it take a watch brand? And I'm pointing at you, Omega, that they announce a watch, they have the press launch, and you still can't find it on the website.
Okay. The fourth find is I hear a metallic noise with piano sounds. Troubleshooting. Sound and keyboard. Oh my god. The second hit is a Pro Track that they are going to release sometime later, but the article is from 2022 September. So it's nothing of any relevance whatsoever. They don't even try.
Well, look, here's the problem. And as a website owner, I understand a little bit about this. There aren't like platforms, universal platforms for brands to just sort of fill out, right? Like, if you wanted to start your own supermarket, you like go to the other supermarkets and be like, oh, okay, I see how they organize it. And then as a customer, even if it's a brand new supermarket you've never been to, you more or less know how to like work it out. With watch brand websites or even just product consumer websites, like these websites are trying to be so many things at the same time that their priority, like some companies' priority might be like, it's just got to be good on mobile. And others are like, it has to have every reference we've ever had. They have to be created equally. We can't promote it. Even the new ones, you just have to know where to look, and everything in between. So since there's no universal standards for this, or just like third-party platforms that are totally agreed upon, it's just a hodgepodge. And it's funny that like we've basically had the need for this for like 20 years, and it's still a hodgepodge. Eventually, it'll sort of work its way out. And again, think of the retail store. Like all these companies have their own stores. It's more or less a universal experience, but we don't have the website equivalent of that yet.
Well, we'll see whether is 2024 likely to be any better than 2023
oh God, no.
for watch
no,
websites.
No one's investing in their website, I promise you.
Yeah, I mean, this is the other problem. It's so far down the list of priorities. But there we go. Right, well, let's review our first watch of the year, and let's review the most popular watch in the world. Very appropriate for a watch. Let's talk about the titanium Apple Ultra Watch 2. Ariel, titanium with the Apple Watch. Titanium's time has come is the title of your article.
Is it back on sale in the US?
It is, yes.
Oh, great.
It was briefly not for sale for a bit of a patent dispute, but that is common in the industry. What I meant by that title was that now that the Apple Watch Ultra is like the de facto men's Apple Watch, and it so boldly pronounces it's in titanium, and also that the iPhone 15, which is also so boldly announced that it has this titanium edge, and it's actually quite light, titanium as a material for guy stuff that is desirable in the mainstream is here in a big way. So outside of the enthusiast community who is like, yeah, titanium's great, you now have a mainstream consumer who, like Richard, will love the titanium Yachtmaster.
When did I become mainstream?
Yeah, I know, right? So as quirky as that is for actual watch enthusiasts, a titanium, Yachtmaster, for the mainstream, you're going to have guys and gals being like, yeah, does it come in titanium? I heard titanium's the cool material. And so Apple was not the first to do a titanium watch, but is making it sexy for a larger group of people than just the watch consumer community, such that when all these luxury brands are trying to have a titanium versus maybe a steel watch, people want titanium in a more expanded way. That's sort of the gist of the argument.
My father bought himself an Apple Watch just before Christmas, titanium Apple Watch Ultra, and has been wearing it ever since, rather than wearing his Rolex that he's worn constantly for the last 25 years.
You seem to have a strong feeling about this.
So, my strong feeling is, well, if you're not going to wear the Rolex, give it to me. But
already? So soon.
Already, that's right. Well, you're talking about save the planning for the will. But so he's liking wearing titanium. Is there a problem looming with people getting into titanium? Like, are people
unless there's a shortage that I don't know about?
But are they going to be disappointed that they've been sold something that is really hard wearing, but actually it comes in so many different varieties?
Well,
in terms of scratch proofness and just how it wears.
If you're going to charge a premium for a titanium, I think you need to have something to justify that, So we were joking a while ago about Grand Seiko and their titanium watch. Oh, it's only $20,000. It's going to have to be damn well finished. It's going to have to look incredible. Scratch resistance through coatings or exotic alloys or whatever are going to have to be a thing with the treatments and the various ways of accomplishing that. Citizen has that with super titanium, such a strong and high bar that is difficult to surpass. The Japanese, really across the board when it comes to coating titanium, are the market leaders. So the idea that you could get one of these titanium watches that will basically look perfect forever versus the Rolex, and again, I'm assuming it's unfinished. What do they call it, David? RLX titanium or some dumb thing like that.
Titanium, yeah.
I mean, as far as I know, it's naked titanium, and it will look pretty, but also scratch. I don't like that. So for me, the Japanese do it the best right now, but again, I think the consumer is going to be into it. You don't need to spend too much. If you're spending, we talk about Jean-Claude Biver minute repeater tourbillons in titanium with a bracelet that are, almost $500,000 or $500,000. Is that for a lot for titanium? It sure is. So I think that as with all these exotic materials now that people like carbons and ceramics, they're not inherently expensive. So, they're cool and they're desirable, but I don't want brands getting away with overcharging more so than they do.
Good. Well, we're going to do something a little different just shortly, so stay tuned in. But the three of us are going to do a review of our final watch with just the three of us. And this is one you've written about, Ariel, the Girard-Perregaux Neo Constant Escapement watch. First of all, tell everybody, what is a constant escapement and why should I want one?
So in mechanical watchmaking, a problem occurs as a mainspring changes the force. A mainspring which is totally wound wants to open up more than a mainspring which is mostly unwound. And this change in force changes how accurate a wristwatch is, because the wristwatch is based upon a relatively steady amount of force. So a long time ago, they knew this was a problem, and they came up with these various types of mechanisms to overcome this problem. They call those constant force escapements. And they were based on different principles, but the idea was that within a certain range of power for the mainspring, as it opened up, it would provide consistent power so that you had isochronism, which is basically accuracy over time as the mainspring or the power keeping system, unwinds, so to say. This is a modern take on that, using a large, complicated, monolithic structure made out of silicon. So because of this complicated, futuristic design, the power that goes into it can vary, but the power that goes out of it, or the impulses that go out of it, are more or less exactly the same. So that's my understanding. It is designed to be immune from having a different rate if there are different amounts of power being shared with it. And that is sort of the innovation. It does this through a very complicated structure, and it looks very, very exotic, and it really is. And when they first came out with this concept about 10 years ago, it didn't work at first, and then they really got the kinks out. And so what I like about this is it's a very exotic silicon-based mechanism that the company has spent about a decade refining. And that means it works well. And David can attest to the fact that that's worth it. It's $100,000, and that actually hasn't really gone up in price. Adjusting for inflation, really, since it came out, it was like 120 in gold, and now it's, like I said, about 100 in titanium. Cleaned up look, more legible, a little bit sportier than when the Constant Escapement originally came out. But the Neo Constant Escapement is, if you wanted to just walk around wearing like a daily but like crazy kind of FU luxury watch, that's sort of as impractical as a Resonance, but more practical and more expensive and actually day-to-day wearing. It's got that right mixture of like, oh, you are rich, but are a design weirdo. And, we all like to tell that statement every once in a while. So that's why it's sort of cool. It has a movement which at least has had most of the kinks engineered out of it. It's fun to watch. I mean, most of us have seen this in operation. David has, I know for sure. It's a pretty cool watch. David, maybe your thoughts, because you've also spent time with this.
Yeah, it's one of those watches I distinctly remember first seeing a decade ago. When we were at one of these GP events somewhere in LA, and this watch, the early version popped up. And I had already read a lot about this, and I was just curious and fascinated to see it in real life. And wow, there it was in front of my eyes. And it's the sort of thing that can get you super fascinated and impressed just by just reading about it and just looking at the pictures and trying to imagine what it's like in motion. And then it's another level when you see it in person. And Ariel says that it's a design weirdo kind of thing, which is also a very cool additional element to it. But the key ingredient here, I think, is the fact that you put this on, you wear this around, you sort of forget that you have it. And then you just look down at your wrist at the time, and wow, there it is, all laid out in front of your eyes. I mean, the amount of work that has gone into this movement and this concept is tremendous. And it really shows. I mean, there are differences when you look at like complicated looking watches that are great for eye candy, and watches that actually have a decade gone into their refinement. And it just, you can't fake that. And I think that is also something that makes this watch really special.
Good. I want to know what short sleeve shirt you were wearing, Ariel, when you took these photographs, because in one of the photos I can see a distinct reflection in one of the lugs. I'm not sure what it is I'm seeing.
Super Mario, isn't it?
Is that what it is? Is it a Super Mario shirt you were wearing?
It could have been.
So it was definitely a short sleeve number anyway for wearing this.
We were in Dubai, a warm
was this
part
a
of the
Dubai
world.
one? Was this a Dubai find, was it?
People like that shirt.
Oh, did people compliment you? Did people go, nice watch,
times.
love the shirt? A couple of times. Good. Excellent. Well, we are going to, any minute now, play Hit Miss Maybe. But we're going to do it slightly differently for 2024 in that we have invited a few folk from a little WhatsApp group to come and join us. So this may or may not work. It is going to be, at least for this occasion, broadcast on YouTube. You probably won't be able to find it because we haven't told you about it in advance. But if it works, then next week you'll be able to go and search out a Blog to Watch Weekly Live, and you can tune in and join in for Hit Miss Maybe. You need to be tuning in around about 8:15, 8:20 UK time in order to see this go live on the channel and take part, or you can visit it later on. And if it works, if we decide to stick with it, then, we may grow it in some other directions. So what I'm going to do, you're going to hear some on-hold music while I let everybody in. Well, we are now live, so depending on what just happened and how we've introduced this, you may or may not be watching this. If you haven't been watching it this week, then do try and find it next week. Search for aBlogtoWatch Weekly Live, and you will find it. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of us on this screen just now. We'll quickly go around. We've already said good morning to Ariel and David, but let's say good morning, Ripley. Who are you? Where are you? What are you wearing on your wrist?
Good morning, or I guess it's my night, your morning. I'm in Los Angeles, so just after midnight, and I am wearing a Garmin because it's my alarm clock in the morning.
Good. Leslie, where are you and what are you wearing?
I'm in Dublin, Ireland, and I'm wearing your favourite watch. Look, it's a reverso.
A reverso.
My horse is at the back.
And your polo horse is just out the back, waiting, tied up. Good stuff. Will, good morning. Where are you today and what are you wearing?
Very good morning. I'm coming to you live from Poland. I'm normally in just outside of London, but visiting family in Poland today, and it's very snowy and very frosty. And this morning I'm wearing my Rolex date from 1960 on a Bark and Jack NATO strap.
Wait a minute, we don't get promotional activities already. We've only just started. It's on a generic NATO source from where all the other NATOs are sourced from.
Other NATO straps are available.
Yes, on the blog. No, we don't sell straps. We don't sell watches. Anyway, right. Ralph, good morning. Where are you and what are you wearing?
Good morning. Yeah, my name is Ralph. I'm based in Dubai. Lovely 25 degrees and sunny outside. So I am wearing a Blancpain Villeret demi-savonnette annual calendar with moon phase.
Very good.
It was created by Jean-Claude Biver on Dubai Watch Week.
Good. Anchor, where are you and what are you wearing?
Good afternoon from Nepal. I am wearing my Bel Canto, the limited edition of 200 pieces, the Sandblast dial. I got this 3 weeks ago. I haven't taken off my wrist. Incredible watch. The best watch purchase ever.
Fine praise indeed. Coming from Nepal, from our dealer, authorised dealer in Nepal. There we go. Right, we're going to play Hit Miss Maybe with these good people. We're going to score it, although the scoring system is going to be so complicated that I'm probably just going to make it up. But it's basically like football. It's Hit Miss Maybe. It's 3 points for a hit, 1 point for a maybe, and 0 points for a miss, and then it's a percentage. So eventually we'll develop a theme as to just how well watches are scoring. So I'm going to share the screen for all of those following along at home, and the first watch we're going to look at is going to be the Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean 600 meter 39.5 millimeter summer blue. Okay, everybody, you all should have signs prepared. So on the count of 3, I want you to show me some love with your sign. So on the count of 3, is it a hit, a miss, or a maybe? Let's see the signs. Oh, what do we have? We have miss, maybe, hit, maybe. Oh. Okay, Ariel, tell us why it's a maybe.
I like the Planet Ocean a lot in a larger size. So for me, I see it as being too small for my tastes. I also think that at $7,400, with a movement that is, now a little bit on the aging side, it's a very aggressive statement, especially when the 300M is like $2,000 cheaper. and I mean, in a lot of ways, the same watch, yes, 300 meters less water resistance that no one's ever going to use. So again, a fan in general, but this is not the version for me.
Okay. Ripley, what did you vote and why did you vote it?
I said it's a hit. You have to look at it within the context of the other watches that are part of that series. I think the smaller size works and makes sense because they got the Ultra Deep if you wanted the bigger one. Plus, I'm not as manly as some of you other folks, so a sub 40 millimeter diver is perfect for my little wrists.
Okay. Who else is manly enough to give it a hit? Ralph, what did you vote?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot my little.
You're sacked. You don't get to come back.
So,
no sign.
Anyhow, I love the color. I love the Fume dial, and I think the size is perfect. So it's a clear hit for me. Yes, the price is a bit of a handful, but it's discounts are on the horizon again. So I guess you can get a good deal eventually.
Anchor, would you wear this 39.5mm watch?
I would wear it, but I wouldn't pick.
That sounds like a very good summation from my point of view. Will?
I said hit, but I went back and forth on this before I eventually went for hit. I think it's a hit with the market that it's probably aiming at in terms of summertime, people with smaller wrists. I have to say, like myself, but I do have a soft spot for the larger Omegas that literally just pull your wrist down, and you feel like you're wearing some sort of substantial weapon. But I think overall it's a hit, and I really like the blue as well.
Yeah, Leslie, normally more used to judging food. Judge this watch.
I'm fairly shallow. I just really like the color. I just thought it was a really attractive color, and also that 39, the under 40 suits me. I have an Omega Speedmaster that's that side, and I still wear it all the time. It looked a little chunkier than it, but no, I mean, yeah, okay, 7-8 grand is expensive, but I don't know, compared to what you pay for Rolexes and stuff these days, I don't know. I'd rather that.
Comparison's a thief of joy, though. David, is this going to thieve you of 7.5 grand?
No, it was a maybe for me as well. It's as long as the 300M exists, I would go for that and not the PO.
Yeah. No, it's a miss for me. 39.5. There's no size for a dive. It's not a dive watch if it's 39.5. Come on, guys, get a grip. That's not a dive watch. It's a trinket. It's a mere bagatelle at 39.5. But there we go. So eventually, when we put this live, you'll be able to go into the comment section on YouTube and join in and tell us if you thought it was a hit, a miss, or maybe 2024 is going to be a fairly big year for doing a lot more video or a lot more video for a blog to watch. Ariel, what else do we expect to see video-wise from a blog to watch in 2024?
We're going to ramp up watch reviews, including more content from other team members on the aBlogtoWatch team. We have a lot of discussion around how we can incorporate more video discussion and commentary on social media. The community wants to know our opinions about certain topics in sort of a more immediate way and not necessarily always watch reviews. There is also going to be more video of the other podcasts I do, Superlative, in addition to this one. So between these various activities, we're going to have more video content to explore different ways of promoting it. Maybe this is the year we get on TikTok. I'm not sure, but it's potential.
TikTok excitement. Are we all excited about TikTok? It does seem it should be a channel that's appropriate for, watches being called TikTok.
I was told by enthusiasts and buyers and things like that. They said it to me. It wasn't like brands being like, yeah, you got to be on TikTok. It was people who got sick of the oversaturation on places like Instagram. This is what they're just telling me. And they're like, oh yeah, this fresh territory in TikTok, I got to go here. Eventually TikTok may succumb to the same saturation point and other platforms will pop up. But there appears to be a phenomenon where platforms start. Once it gets cool, it becomes oversaturated. It's no longer easy to find cool stuff because there's too much to sort through. And then people, go elsewhere to green pastures.
Okay, let's look at watch number 2, and this is a watch from ID Geneve, the Circular S watch with sun forged steel. The main selling point of this seems to be that the steel has been forged, e.g. melted and then cast into an appropriate shape using rays directly from the sun. So basically you gather the sunshine in a load of mirrors, you point it at a bit of solid metal, and the heat concentrated from the mirrors melts the metal in the solar furnace, and therefore you don't need to burn any electricity, although you do need to pay for and produce an enormous number of mirrors and all the infrastructure and land and all the rest of the carbon that needs spent to actually do that in the first place in order to produce one watch. What do we think of this? Leonardo DiCaprio appears to think that it's a hit. It is yellow. That's pretty much all I can say about it in terms of, sunshine is important, so they've given it a yellow case. It does have that kind of Maurice Lacroix icon sizing and shape and the way that the strap fits into the watch case. It's an ETA 2824. But the question is it a hit, a miss, or a maybe? So on the count of three, gentlemen, hit, miss, or maybe. Okay. We have a selection, so a fairly broad selection. Let's go to Leslie, who's got a kind of meh vibe about this.
Yeah, it just didn't excite me. The color, I don't know if having said that, I do have a yellow jacket that it would match quite nicely, but I don't wear that often.
And that cushion behind your head, I think we go well with.
Yes, actually, that's exactly, yeah. $4,500 or something, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to be associated with Leonardo DiCaprio either, particularly. It's fine. It's fine. I mean,
okay. You're not young enough for Leo. You'll be okay. Ralph, how did you vote in this?
Yeah, clearly I'm also above 25, so I'm not qualifying anymore. But I voted miss, because for me it's just especially that case with the sun ray shape on the side. It's just a lint magnet, I think, and it just looks, I don't know, I think it's weird. I mean, of course, taste is personal, but not for me. Absolutely not. Too many sun rays, too bold sun rays on that thing.
Yeah, we did have a discussion earlier in the podcast about sleeves and watches fitting under sleeves. David, when this went under your sleeve, would it pick up thread in what hopefully it's not too sharp a casing, but it certainly does, as Ralph pointed out, look like it may catch the occasional bit of dust.
I quite like the number of bespoke details on the dial and the case, so I gave it a maybe because I respect that. I'm not a fan of the proportions with those big wide hands, and it's just the proportions, especially of the dial and the case, are just somehow off. So I think that needs a little bit more work. But I like that it's out there. I like that it's unique. So I wouldn't wear it, but again, I have respect for this watch. So yeah, it's a maybe from me.
Anchor, could this ever take a place in your heart similar to the Bel Canto?
For us, it doesn't really matter how the steel is sourced. So, and it's too much of a price for the watch. So, no, I don't think so.
I mean, I'm in Scotland, so no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to sunforge this steel in Scotland. So you're going to have to pay to get it shipped from Uzbekistan or wherever it is. I think something like the Uzbeks are the ones that produce. There is a Stan somewhere involved in this, or previously they were one of the biggest solar smelts in the world. So you're still going to pay to ship it all across the world. Ariel, you've actually worn this watch, I think, or handled it.
Yep.
You certainly wrote the article.
I gave it a hit, and I gave it a hit for the same reason why everyone else gave it a miss, essentially. If you are a male watch collector trying to make like a rationale in your mind for getting this, you're not going to do it. But this is a very romantic watch. Okay. It's totally over the top, impractical. I mean, just the story about all the nonsense required to melt the steel. This is exactly what women love to hear, right? So if you want a watch to use as a platform to tell a story to a woman, you get like you talked to, this is inspired by the sun. You can see that. She can look at that dial and be like, oh, okay, I can see that. We may not like it, but it tells the story, the silly, over-the-top, idealistic, romantic story very, very well. And I love it for that if I needed it for that purpose. Otherwise, no, I wouldn't.
Ariel is going full DiCaprio on it.
Exactly.
Under 25. Like, look at my romantic watch.
Oh my God. Do you know where the steel came from? Do you know how many hours of sunlight were required to turn this into a watch case for me to wear? Look at this cork. It's grown on trees. It's not killed like animals.
We've left who I perceive Ripley and Will as being the two most romantic gentlemen on this call today. So, Ripley, would you ever contemplate using a watch to romanticize a partner?
Oh, that is the only way to do it. That is the only way we know how. Yeah, I gave it a maybe. I'm kind of between the two camps. I like all of the interesting design details, all of the sun-inspired everything, right down to the way they made the melted the metal, not made the metal. But it's one I'd have to see in person. You know what I mean? It's a different watch. It's a bit interesting. Some of the proportions are a bit wonky, but it's different. It's unusual, and we get so many of the same watches on the market. I'm happy to see something different, even if it's gone full sun mode.
Will, our most romantic, a painter and decorator, to be honest, but a painter nonetheless. Yeah. Will, are you taking your wife for a romantic watch? And a romantic walk and showing her your watch.
Yeah. She has very limited to no interest in watches whatsoever, and I have tried my best with everything to try and sell us to her. In terms of this watch, for me it was a bit too complicated. The fluting around the outside reminded me a bit of, no disrespect because I wear lots of them, but Seiko, and it just didn't quite have that for me. The dial does look good. But I think in terms of the environment, if you really are serious about it, you are far better buying a vintage watch and keeping a beautiful mechanical watch in circulation, because that has far more romance for me. So the 1960s Rolex that I'm wearing now wasn't very expensive at all.
Stop showing off the Bark and Jack
I'm
NATO.
not. I didn't mention that name again. Anyway, the watch. But in my head, I have this romantic vision that it's from 1960. So imagine the other people that have worn this and the stories it's had, the places it's been to, etc., etc. And I think that's just a nice, beautiful thing to think about. So it was a miss. It was a miss for me, and also the straps as well. I'm a sucker for changing straps and things like that, and the fact that you are tied into their straps as well. I wasn't a big fan of.
Yeah, you'll not get a Bark and Jack NATO fit this. Anyway, right, our final watch of today is going to be from the good pilots of a Bremont Supermarine S302 Jet GMT. Again, Ariel has reviewed this hands-on. It's a black Bremont. It looks pretty much like all the other black Bremonts. 30 atmosphere, so 300 meter water resistant GMT. It is quite a nice watch. I have a bit of a soft spot for these, but the question is, does everybody else have a soft spot for these two? So on the count of three, minus David, who's currently opening a parcel. No, he's back. On the count of three, what do we reckon to this Bremont? Is it a hit, a miss, or a maybe? Oh, it is. Oh, it's a broad brush approach again. Well, let's go to Ralph first, who's finally found something to use instead of making a sign. He's found a website with some details on it. Ralph, you give it a hit?
I give it a hit, yeah. I think it's a beautiful design. I think the triptych case, a bit smaller, is really, really lovely. I have a Bremont, I have to admit that, so I am a bit biased. I have an MB3, and the optimized rubber strap is good because the old one was pretty bad. I feel that the color scheme works. I am not objecting to Fortina, and this has a lot of it, right? I just love orange and black. It's a great combination, and I think it's a really nice watch. I would think the retail price is a bit on a high side, but other than that, I really like it.
Good. Leslie, what do you think?
I actually went back and forth on this, and I had the miss beside me, but I said, no, actually, I do like it. The black is really striking. The design is better than what they've been doing recently. At least it seems to me. Maybe I haven't been paying enough attention to what they've been doing in more recent times. I'm not a particular Bremont fan. I do think they're overpriced and stuff, but look, if I was given this, if I won this, I'd absolutely wear it. Absolutely wear it.
If you won it, you'd wear it.
Yeah, basically.
Ariel,
that was the reason.
Ariel, if you won it, would you wear it?
Yeah, why not?
That's simple and straightforward. Any other comments on this watch, Ariel? You reviewed it.
I gave it a maybe. I do think it's handsome. One of the things that I want to point out, because probably all of us here have had black coated cases, we're like, this is kind of splotchy. This isn't very well done. Bremont does a very good DLC coating on their steel. It is a very nice coating for sure. This is 40 millimeters wide. I like this in the larger version of the Supermarine, which is 43 millimeters. They actually have made up to 45, which is a bit big. The reason this was maybe wasn't just the size, but the GMT component was more of an afterthought. The bezel rotates in one direction like a diver's bezel, and it's kind of thick as a case. So this watch was designed really to be a 40 millimeter wide diver. It's best for that. It's just sort of not quite GMT enough for the GMT department. Prices are getting better, and they will continue to get better at Bremont if Mr. Girard, who is the CEO now, is to be believed. So this is, one of his first sort of collections, and you see his restraint, super simple dial, no extra stuff, great color patterns. Again, he didn't invent the jet color pattern, but again, this is a strong product. So not quite there yet, but definitely a step in the right direction, and quality-wise, well done.
Ripley?
It's a miss for me. Definitely a miss for me. So aesthetically, I like the watch, but let me just go rant about it for a quick second.
Yay! That's what we're here for. We're here for the rants.
We got to look at it within the context of the original S302, which was more of a diver with a GMT complication. So first and foremost, a dive watch, like Ariel said. From an external perspective, very much the same watch, but what the bezel, the rotating bezel, was a 60-minute unidirectional bezel on the original one, and it had a 24-hour scale printed along the chapter ring there. So it was pretty much a dive watch, but you had a secondary time zone, collar styles, not a travel watch, whatever, fine. Solid watch. Now for the second one, aesthetically, I think it's an improvement. I like the jet color scheme, what have you. I have nothing wrong, no problems with the case itself, like the triptych case, like Bremont as a brand, generally speaking. But in my opinion, this is a step backward. The bezel, I saw this watch, the bezel is unidirectional, and for a 24-hour bezel, that is more or less pointless. Now, if you want to go forward an hour, you got to go around the dial. It makes no sense. The movement of the bezel corresponds to 60 minutes. The scale's for 24 hours. They didn't want to remake the case components of the 60-minute bezel, presumably, so they made a 24-hour scale, but didn't change the mechanics. That seems lazy. Instead, we've now relegated the minute track to the chapter ring. So now you can't really display two time zones with just the watch and use the bezel. You need to use the bezel to display the secondary time zone. So if you rotate the bezel, now the 24-hour hand's not pointing to any relevant thing. You can't do it for 3 time zones. So in my opinion, the aesthetics were there. The execution was poorly done. What they really should have done, what they should have done was left it as it had before. Keep the 24-hour track on the chapter ring, leave the bezel leave it 60 minutes, so you don't have to re-engineer it and make it bidirectional. And then it's just like what it was. It was a diver with a GMT complication, but first and foremost, a dive watch. And then you don't have someone like me complaining about the fact that you've got a bidirectional bezel as far as the insert, but it only moves in one direction like a 60-minute bezel. So that's where I'm at.
Round of applause for Ripley for Rant of the Week. Well done, well done. It's a miss from Ripley, in case you hadn't gathered. Would anybody else like to change, now that you've heard Ripley's, would anybody like to change from a hit?
Do not use the GMT. Ignore that hand. It's not there.
Okay, who have we not been to? Will, are you influenced by Ripley, the influencer?
That was absolutely amazing. That was very passionate. That's far more detail than I was going to go into, and I fully understand and I accept everything he says. For me, it was a miss. Because I mean, perhaps for the same reason, it was neither one nor the other. It wasn't diver enough for me. It wasn't GMT enough for me, and I don't think it combined those two things well enough together. I don't like the strap. I'm not a big fan of the strap, and the faux Tina as well. I prefer something a bit more kind of crisp and clear. The one thing it made me think of, which I appreciate is probably about twice as much, was the Seamaster 300, the black ceramic, which I appreciate is a different watch, but it just made me think of that and think, actually, that's a far nicer watch. I appreciate it's like twice as much, I think. But anyway, for me, it was a miss. I don't have a particularly romantic attachment to Bremont necessarily, but I'm willing to be convinced over time, and I know that Rick is probably going to try and convince me.
I'm not going to try and convince you. There's an awful lot of romance in this morning's show, but there we go. That's just what happens when you bring everybody on. Who have we not heard from? Anchor, I don't think we've heard from you on this one.
It was a hit for me, but after hearing the rant, I think it's nice.
Yay! Mind changers. Influence. That's it. Ripley, you can officially say you influenced one person. Admittedly, he's in Nepal. So, your influence stretching worldwide.
I don't want to influence anyone. If someone really likes the watch and doesn't take any issues with what I take issue with it, please, by all means, enjoy it, wear it. And, it's a good watch. I like the original one, but it moved backwards, in my opinion, while aesthetically moving forward. And I just can't look past that.
Good stuff. Who have we not heard from on the Bremont David, are you the last? I've heard from you on this, Bremont.
It was a maybe for me, although I respect the watch a whole lot more now that I can. Now that I realize that it can evoke such passion from somebody. I mean that's a good watch. If someone can like, and a good brand, you know, if it makes you feel like that or feel something in the sea of like boring watches, that's already, you know, kudos to Ripley and also to Bremont for putting something out that people care about this much.
Well, and I think, to be fair, that's what bothers me.
Ripley's still going.
Well, I think it wouldn't bother me if Bremont wasn't such a good brand. They make great products, so much so that I'm even able to kind of overlook the high price point. So it really just seems like such a misstep from a brand that otherwise has such good attention to detail. So I think that's why it's under my skin. But if we want to get into the things that bother me, that's a whole other topic.
Is that just things that bother you in the watch world, or just things that bother? Are we just going to have a Ripley show? Just things that bother Ripley. Good stuff. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this first collective hit miss maybe. Hopefully we will do it again soon. But as we draw our show to the end, it's basically goodbye from me. And I didn't get you to make goodbye signs, but you can just wave because that works really well in audio. So it's goodbye from me and goodbye from all of them. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.